TSP. Once again, I welcome you all for this TSP class. Now, without wasting much time, I'll start sharing my screen, and later on, I'll explain the importance of this, the unit 2 that. So here goes with your unit 2, which concentrates on once again the continuation part of a TFT, that is efficient computation of discrete Fourier transform. Uh, the main important contents that we are going to cover in this is we already know how to calculate the discrete Fourier transform by basic definition, that is x of k. By using x of k, again, is it possible to the go for the efficient computation? Now, the question occurs: what do you mean by efficient? So, efficient. How do we define the efficient? So that we will see some of the disadvantage in the computation of DFT, which means that the output or the answer remains same, but the process that we follow, and here in terms of any computation that we go, here it is always with respect to how many number of multiplications, how many number of complex additions are involved in calculating your normal DFT. The reason is anything that you go calculate when you go for calculation, each and every calculation is done by your processor, right? So I have a CPU here. Whatever I give as an input in the CPU will be consisting of one more element, that is arithmetic and logic unit. What is the purpose of this arithmetic and logic unit? It goes mainly like addition, subtraction, and any logical operations are going to be performed use in CPU itself. So which means that if more and more additions, more and more subtractions are involved, then automatically what happens? The CPU will be consuming more number of time to perform the calculations. Am I right? So now, when I say that DFT will be always comprises of complex numbers. So that is in the form of a plus I p into c plus id. So when you have a more number of complex numbers, there will be obviously more number of complex multiplications and complex additions. As the number of complex multiplications and complex additions increases, it in turn overloads my processors by giving more number of inputs. So now what we think is it possible to calculate the DFT efficiently? When I say that efficiently, is it possible to reduce the number of multiplications and additions compared to normal DFT computations? That is my agenda, right? So here, before starting the efficient computation, I should know how many complex number multiplication and complex additions are present or will be present in my normal calculations, and how it can be made reduced, right? So that's where, in order to reduce the number of computations, so computations, the word uh, communicate with respect to addition and multiplications, right? And in this case, if my input x of n is complex numbers, so then obviously and once again, the as you know that the multiplication operation with respect to DFT, it is your input signal is getting multiplied with the twiddle factor, and twiddle factor is what? It is nothing but e to the power of minus j theta form, which is nothing but cos theta minus I sin theta form. So your input signal will be multiplying with your complex number. So which means that there will be a existence of a complex addition and as well as a complex multiplications. That is what the computation are going to be performed in calculation of the DFT. Now, is it possible to make fast? What does it mean? Faster algorithm is nothing but reducing the multiplications or reducing the computations of additions. What happens when you reduce these multiplications and additions? Obviously, the load for the CPU reduces. When it reduces, your input, whatever the input that is going to be performed, when you apply the input, obviously the output x of k will be computed at the lesser number of time, right? So that's the importance of the this particular chapter. Then followed by, in order to have such kind of computations, I have two types of techniques here. One is DIT-FFT method and another one is DIF-FFT method. That is, we approach, this is what we call it as a divide and conquer approach. Divide and conquer approach. In order to make my DFT computation more efficient, I have a algorithms, and the first algorithm is the radix to FFT algorithm. Under radix to FFT algorithms, again we have two types of computations, that is decimation in time and decimation in frequency. What do you mean by decimation? Decimation is nothing but a division, right? So decimation in time means it is time domain, dividing the values in terms of time in time domain, and dividing the values in frequency domain. That's it. That is what the meaning of decimation in frequency. Then we go for the next topic, like computational complexity is nothing but once we perform these two methods, once we'll understand the algorithms to in order to make that efficient, then we'll look into how the complexity has been reduced, right? Then followed by applications. So there are two applications that we will discuss at the end of this chapter, and hardly this is one important concept, another important concept. So these two will going to be covered in 1 and a half hours of class. So almost I need 2 hours to complete these two topics, and computational complexity almost in half an hour it is going to be covered, and another 2 hours for completion of these applications. And today I will be spending more on the derivation part of the algorithm. So how I am going to derive that. So almost 1 hour it is required for today's class. So almost in terms of total number of hours, it's almost by 5 to 6 hours is sufficient to complete this particular chapter, right? So within by next week we'll able to complete this particular chapter. Once I complete this particular chapter, then further chapters are very interesting, and I literally feel more real time concepts are going to be covered in forthcoming chapters. Now quickly I will revisit the concept of DFT and inverse DFT. So this is what the definition says, that x of n will be a input signal where this input signal is of type discrete signal, and followed by okay. The endpoint DFT definition of discrete Fourier transform, here it goes with like this. So x of k is given by x of n into the Twiddle factor. Then similarly the Fourier inverse for discrete Fourier transform is given by x of n equal to 1 by n summation k runs from 0 to n minus 1. The input x of k into Twiddle factor wn to the power of minus k. What difference do you see in these two equations? So one is the difference between DFT and IDFT in terms of equation I am speaking. One is the Twiddle factor. The Wn to the power of Kn is multiplied in negative sign, that is minus Kn. One difference, that is what the sign of the argument for the exponent is going to be changed here, and the multiplication factor. So here there is no 1 by n, but here we'll try to divide the entire equation by n. This is what the difference we see in the definition mathematical equations of x of k and x of n, right? But conceptually, so it is moving from time domain to frequency domain x of k, and it is moving from frequency domain back to time domain. That is what a conceptual explanation with respect to DFT and IDFT. Now, coming to the computational complexity. When I say that computational complexity, it is nothing but, so when you look into this particular equation, x of k is equal to summation n runs from 0 to n minus 1 x of n wn to the power of kn, and where k runs from, again, the value of k ranging from 0 to n minus 1. Am I right? So now, how many multiplications are possible for each value of k? So that's what here we mention n number of complex multiplications are required. And n square complex multiplications are required if I can consider all the values of k or all the values of n, in order to either you go for x of k or x of n, which is nothing but either you go for calculating the DFT or you go for the calculating the IDFT. The number of complex multiplications required for each value of k, that is n. How do you decide this? So here I just tell you the I'll make you to understand. uh, Look up carefully. So x of k is my definition. The definition goes like this: summation x of n wn to the power of kn, right? So 0 to n minus 1, where the small n ranges from. So which means that when you apply k equal to 0 here, when you apply k equal to 0, so this n will be multiplied with x of 0 wn k into 0 plus, again, of course, k is 0 here, but n value keep on changing from 0 to n minus 1, right? So last value will be x of n minus 1 into wn to the power of n minus 1 into 0, where k is 0. For when k is 0, how many multiplications will you see here? These types of multiplication, how many multiplication will you see? So this is obviously, when you look into the number of multiplications, obviously 0 to n minus 1 elements are there. Therefore, how many multiplications are required? Since it is wn to the power of kn, so complex value. So obviously, I say that n number of complex number multiplications are present, right, for each value of k. Now, for entire value of k, see here it is k equal to 0, k equal to n. Similarly, if there are n values, n minus 1 values, so which is nothing but each value of k is n, of such there are n values, right? 0 to n minus. So this is nothing but for total calculation of x of k or x of n, either you calculate a DFT. So okay, let me take only DFT. In order to calculate the entire DFT of set n, small n ranging from 0 to n minus 1, for each value of k it requires n, of such there are n values, that is what the k value ranging from 0 to n minus 1, of such there are n values. Therefore, total number of multiplications that is going to be present is n square, right? Similarly, complex number additions, how many complex additions are going to be present here? Now look at this: x of k is equal to, let me assume that the x of n is complex valued. What does it mean? The complex value means, so this will be consisting of the real value and the imaginary value. The summation xr of n plus j times of xi of n. This is what the x of n speaks about. This is what the x of n here is multiplied with wn to the power of kn. wn to the power of kn, where small n ranges from 0 to n minus 1. So when you perform the addition, I can split this summation, right? I can split this summation in such a way that 0 to n minus 1, that is xr of n multiplied with wnkn plus j times summation xi of n wn to the power of kn. Am I right? So in this way, I can again replace this. Again, within this, I can split this. Summation n runs from 0 to n minus 1 x r of n. What is wn to the power of kn? It is nothing but cos 2 pi kn divided by n minus j sine 2 pi n kn divided by n, right? So because wn to the power of kn is nothing but e to the power of minus j 2 pi kn by n. Now it is nothing but e to the power of j theta. E to the power of j theta is written in the form of cos theta minus I sin theta. So in this case, I write this in the form of cos 2 pi kn by n minus j sin 2 pi kn by n. Similarly, at the another imaginary value, that is n runs from 0 to n minus 1 x I of n. Similarly, I try to write in terms of cos term minus j sin term. I don't write completely. It is understood that cos of 2 pi kn by n. Now, if you look into this, again I can multiply this real number with cosine term and real number with sine term. Again here, imaginary number with cosine term and imaginary number with sine term. So once again, if I perform this, look at this total number of additions that I am going to get. So I just write this in the form of x r of n x r of n into cos of 2 pi kn by n. Okay. Again, if you observe carefully, this will be minus j time j as usual x r of n sine of 2 pi kn by n, right? So this I'll keep as it is, plus j times summation xi of cos term, right? Again minus xi of j times sine term, right? So look at this now. So one more cosine term, one more sine. Again, I can split this summation with respect to cos and with respect to sine. Again, I can split this in this form. X r of n cos term minus summation j I will keep outside x r of n sine of term. So look at this, how many additions you are going to see here for one value of k. I can see for one value of k, I can see there are n minus 1 complex additions in general, right? For n number of samples, if you go on substituting this way, so we will going to get n minus 1 complex additions for each value of k, for each value of k. Of such there are how many values? K0, K1, K value 2. Of such there are n minus 1 values, which is nothing but total number is 0 to n minus 1, which is nothing but there are n number of values. So this comes to be n into n minus 1 complex additions. So that's what, if it is for single value of k, this is for single value of k I am speaking about. To calculate x of 0 or x of 1, x of 2 for only one value of k, if you take, you will going to get, just observe here itself I could have explained this, but if I go for simplifying, then I thought like you will going to understand in a much better way. Here itself you assume, look at this, x of n is complex valued, right? A plus ib, here this is a plus ib. Again, if you replace this, this is also C plus ID form, right? Now, if you observe this, there are n minus 1 summations. The summation is ranging from 0 to n minus 1. So, obviously, the number of complex number additions will be n minus 1. Of such, how many additions you will going to perform for entire value of k? Computation of all the terms. That is, it is nothing but for all values of k. That is what the meaning, all values of k. So we will going to get n minus 1 into n. So these are the number of complex number of additions it is going to be performed, right? Now this is number of with respect to complex number multiplications. Now how many number of real multiplications and the real additions are present here? What do you mean by real multiplications? Real numbers, you have the sequence x of n into wn to the power of kn, right? This is summation, wherein if you observe carefully, I say that this is once again xi of n, xr of n plus j times xi of n. This x of n will be in the form of a plus ib, and wn to the power of kn, it is nothing but cos theta plus I sin theta, again, which will be in the form of c plus id, right? Now if you multiply these two, so this is, you will going to get how many real numbers and how many imaginary numbers. So if you observe carefully, a into c is one real number, and again a into I, a into d is one more imaginary number, a into c is done, a into d is done, b into c, that is plus b into c, I into I is I square, that is minus bd. Now look at this, how many complex real number multiplications we will going to get. We will go, for each value of k we will going to get 4 n, is it not? For each value of k we will going to get 4 n real multiplications operations, right? Therefore, of such, from 0 to k, which means that from 0 to n minus 1, which means that there are n values. To calculate the entire value, I am required with 4n square real multiplications, right? So this is for k, all the k values. This is for single k value. For single k value, I required 4n real multiplication, and I require 4n square real multiplications for calculating the entire k values. Now the task is just identify how many real additions are required to calculate the single value of k and to calculate the all the values of k, right? Similarly, that's what here I expressed this by substituting. Just make an attempt to calculate how many real values of additions are required when you perform these kind of additions. So which means that what I'm trying to say here is, whenever you go for multiplication a into c, right? So what happens in your hardware? Here it is a processor. I have a b c d, a plus ib into c plus id, where the inputs are a b c d, and there will be a multiplication and there will be a adder. So that is what the ALU is going to be performed. Look at this, as the number of a into c, a into d, b into c, b into d multiplications. So it is nothing but I am in turn enforcing my processor, but I'm pressurizing my processor to calculate these kinds of values. at the faster rate I want to perform. Now here, if there are 4-point DFT, if I'm taking a very small value, 4-point DFT, how many real multiplications are possible here? 4 into 4, 16 multiplications to calculate one single value of k, to calculate x of 0, which means that to calculate the entire x of k, how many complex real multiplications are wasting here? 4 into 16 square. Just calculate this, those many number of real multiplications. So those many times iterative job has to be performed by the processor. So now what we do is it possible to go for another efficient method? Another efficient method so that I can reduce these number of complex multiplications and real multiplications. So that's what the chapter deal about. So since anything that you run, any signal that you perform, any signal that you take, that's what making a image, taking a photo of a image in your camera, that has to be processed by a processor itself, your mobile processor, or else if you want to record a audio signal, so behind the audio signal that is going to be performed is once again a fast Fourier transform, or a Fourier transform is required to store those values. So because you need to store the values in the digital form itself, right? There is no other way to store your values, analog values. Obviously, it is more burden on my processor when you go for such huge number of audio signal or a video signal, where video is nothing but a sequences of images, a two-dimensional signal that you are supposed to capture and you need to store. So wherein which more number of, it is nothing but a more number of, you are giving for your processor, you are giving more number of complex addition and complex multiplication operations mathematically inside the processor. These are the operations that are going to be performed. So once more and more number of multiplication operations, more and more number of additions operations are insisted to the processor, obviously there will be a one time where your system will slow down. That's where you can observe when you want to upload or when you want to share the huge MB of the video files or the image files, the processor will be little bit taking time to segregate those and for settle down all those operations, to settle down with respect to all those operations. So in order to do this one thing, there are two ways. One is improve your hardware size. Improve your hardware size. Here I may give one of the processor, I may give a single core, or I go on increasing the multiple cores. Now right now you have a quad core processor, octa core processor, Snapdragon, right? So you increase the number of processors. It is nothing but the more the number of processor are available, more the number of ALUs are going to be available. Okay. Till what value you increase your processor core? So one important disadvantage is the cost. As you keep on increasing your core of the processors, then obviously for that, in order to match that, I need to go for memory. Your RAM size increases. That's where when you go for in quad core processor or octa core processor, there obviously your mobile phones, they will be keeping that 6 GB of RAM size minimum, and 124, if I'm not wrong, 124 GB of your ROM, and followed by octa-core processors. So the intent, the reason behind to increase the RAM size is nothing but RAM is my primary memory. Whatever I fetch the content, that has to be fetched from the RAM itself, and processor in turn, I have a more number of people to do the job, But if there is no if there is no person to allot the job, means what? So all the time RAM will be having the content that the job supposed to be done. All the data will be present in my RAM, and simultaneously my processor will access the data from the RAM, and it performs the operations. So this how normally the operations are going to be performed. So nowadays you see any processors, maybe your mobile processor or maybe your the laptop processor. So it's all about collection of the sequence of data, because and it is all about the signals. What type of signals? Maybe audio signal or video signal or a image signal. In order to perform all these values, yes, of course, behind that there exists the Fourier transform itself. The reason is all the signals are aperiodic in nature. You cannot know that audio. You cannot say that audio signal is a periodic signal. It must be a periodic signal. So once again, if you want to apply any discretization method, then obviously you will be applying for such signal, you will be applying the discrete Fourier transform, DFT. So again, the output of those will be in terms of x of k values. So obviously, once again, the very important point occurs here is, now, is my algorithm fast? That's where one way is to increase my hardware size. Apart from that, what is the other way? Other way, make my algorithm efficient, right? Make my algorithm efficient. So now, how do we go for efficient algorithm method? So that's where we have one more technique. So that's what I talked about till now. So x of n, your digital signal processor will be having an input of DFT, and at the end, while retrieving back the signals, it will be once again in a time domain itself. But whatever the signal has to be processed in the signal processor, it will be in terms of frequency domain. Hence, I will be applying the DFT. So here one computations, and here once again at the output side, once again the complex multiplication operations are going to be performed on what? On these audio signals and image signals and video signals, right? So my aim is to improvise the signal processing in terms of algorithm. One way, I already told you, it is by increasing your hardware size. Maybe by increasing your core, or maybe by increasing your RAM size. Where obviously it cost your hardware. Increasing your core and increasing your RAM size costs your hardware. Apart from that, second, as an engineer, what we do is we go for the algorithms. That technique we call it as a fast Fourier transform, FFT. From DFT, we are coming to FFT. So the concept is same. The concept is same, but only thing is we try to reduce the number of multiplication and complex additions. That's the way. So in this again, one is I can go for time domain approach, that is decimation in time, fast Fourier transform, DIT-FFT method, and another one is frequency domain approach, that is decimation in frequency, fast Fourier transform. So what happens when you go for these two technique? Here itself we say that the output will be drastically reduced. The number of complexity, that is computational values, will be in terms of log of n. Look at the look. Just go through the values of n equal to 4 and log of 4. So it obviously it will be around somewhere else 50% of this your input. So in such cases, the complexity of computational complexity reduces by going to these two techniques. That's how it is going to reduce, and how we will going to get in terms of log, that we will do in terms of in the very next session itself. So I hope till the here the explanation of the DFT, revisit to DFT, till why we go for fast Fourier transform. I hope you got the concepts clearly. I'll come back to. So before entering into the fast Fourier transform, Let us have a small understanding with respect to Twiddle factor here. I just directly tell you the importance of a symmetry. So as you know that a symmetry value x of k will be equal to, after some time, the x of n minus k. So will be this is what the symmetry property you already might be know in the symmetric property when we have discussed at the symmetric understanding, right? After some period, the values will going to repeat. So this is one important concept that you should remember. The second important concept is the Twiddle factor, Wn to the power of n and Wn to the power of n by 2. These two important concepts you need to understand. So what is the value of Wn to the power of n? Let us see. I think in one of the class I have explained the input, the value of Wn to the power of n. So okay, how do you write the Wn to the power of kn? Wn to the power of kn is represented as e to the power of minus j 2 pi n kn. Fine. So it is nothing but e to the power of minus j 2 pi n. Here this n is with respect to capital N. So n and n get cancels, so which means that I left with e to the power of minus j 2 pi k. Again, if I expand this, this will be cos 2 pi k minus j sine 2 pi k. Now you know that obviously sine of pi n pi is always 0. Cos of 2 pi is there, hence obviously the value is 1. So Wn to the power of n, which means that W4 to the power of 4 or W8 to the power of 8 or W16 to the power of 16 as such, the value is always same, that is 1. Now let me take the another value Wn to the power of n by 2. What is the value of this? Now just apply n by 2 in place of small n, that is 2 pi n k n. N value here it is n by 2. This 2 and this 2 get cancels, n and n get cancels. What you left with? E to the power of minus j pi k. Am I right? Yeah. Now if you expand, this is very simple, cos pi k minus j sine pi k. Now sine k is obviously 0. What is cos pi? Cos, so cos pi is nothing but minus 1. So w power of n by 2. So I can write as it is 1 itself, right? So Wn to the power of n is equal to 1. Wn to the power of n is equal to 1, whereas Wn n by 2 is equal to minus 1. Can I write Wn to the power of n? Oh, minute, I'll be back. Just a minute. Yeah. Okay. Now Wn to the power of n is equal to 1, and can I write this as nothing but minus Wn to the power of n by 2? So which means that W8 to the power of 8 is equal to 1. W8 to the power of 4 is equal to what? Minus 1. Right? Or else W8 to the power of 8 is equal to minus W8 to the power of 4. Right? So this is how in near future, if there exist the values like this, I will be transforming in this form. Right? So if there exists a W16 to the power of 16, I may be writing this as W16 to the power of 8. So these are the simple modifications that we will going to do. Later on, you should able to understand that what the minor aspects that we are trying to change with respect to Twiddle factors. So this is just to make sure that you know this concept, that's it, and followed by the x of k. So then we'll go for the short derivation of FFT, radix to DIT FFT method. Now let me assume, so coming to the derivation part here, coming to derivation x of n, let me assume that x of n consisting of the values x of 0, x of 1, x of 2, and it continues till x of n minus 1. Now what we do is, anyways, it is decimation in time. What you mean by decimation is nothing but a divide. In what way we are trying to divide is, we try to divide this entire sequence as even sequence and the odd sequences. That is, if I write this once again, I try to write it as xe of n even sequences, where the even sequences like x of 0, then next even sequence is x of 2, and the next sequence is x of 4, and it continues. The last value is not x of n minus 1, it is x of n minus 2, because I am considering only even sequences. And the last next is x odd of n, this sequence is x of 1 followed by x of 2, sorry, x of 3, x of 5, and it continues. The last sequence is x of n minus 1, right? So this is how we divide the sequences of x of n in terms of even sequence and odd sequence, right? So now the another assumption that what we have done in this is, our input x of n may be complex also, right? So that right now I don't consider that, but you should have that in your mind. This x of n will be in the maybe a complex valued also, complex valued. Now we know that by the definition x of k can be written as x of n wn to the power of kn, where small n is moving from 0 to n minus 1, and this k value ranging from 0 to n minus 1. So this is the fundamental definition after decimating in terms of even and odd. Now we come to the definition of DFT. In the sense, I can divide. Now, as I told you, x of n sequence is divided in terms of even and odd. Is it possible to divide this in terms of even and odd? What I am trying to do is the entire summation, where x of n, each value x of 0 is multiplied with the wn. It is what? The small value n. It is not, is it not? N equal to 0, n equal to 2, n equal to 4, right? So x of n is multiplied with wn kn, starting from not 0, and the ending value is not n minus 1, the ending value is what? N minus 2. So this is even sequence. Plus, again, x of n is multiplied with the twiddle factor wn kn, from starting from not 1, here it is not 0, here it is small n is running from 1 to n minus 1, right? Now whenever we solve such type of equations, we always try to take the summations to be the same limits all the ways. Here the summations are different. One is running from 0 to n minus 1, and another one is running from 1 to n minus 1. Now let me try, is it possible to split this equations in such a way that where the summations starts with the same limits instead of 0 to n minus 2 and 1 to n minus 1, is it possible to put the limits for both the limits, one are the same. So this is even sequence, this is odd sequence. Now let us try that one. So coming to the next stage, so I rewrite that above equations once again. So this is small n ranging from 0 to n minus 2 x of n multiplied with the Twiddle factor kn plus summation x of n wn to the power of kn, n value running from 0 to n minus 1. Now what I do is uh, uh, put n equal to for even. How do you write the even? All the times it is multiplied with some factor called 2r, right? So that is what I try to do it for the first term. This is for first term. First term means this is first term and this is second term. Okay. Now for first term I'll put n equal to 2r. Okay, this is for first term. For the second term I'll put n equal to what? 2r plus 1, because that is the odd sequence that what I have taken. Now look at this. Now I can rearrange the limits. Instead of n from 0 to n minus 2, I'll try to rearrange the limits. Instead of n, I'll put here r. What happens? Look at this. R equal to what? Here n by 2. Now if lower limit for first term, if n equal to 0, r equal to what? 0 itself, right? 0 by 2. If n equal to last value is n minus 2, what happens to r? N minus 2 divided by 2, which is nothing but n by 2 minus 2 by 2, 1. So this is the last term. So that is the limit of first term. I can change it from n0 to n minus 1, 2. Instead of this, I will put r 0 to the last value n by 2 minus 1. Similarly, for second term, here it is for second term, it is n equal to 2r plus 1, right? How do you write this equation for r now? R equal to 2r n minus 1 and r equal to n minus 1 by 2, right? Now put the lower limit. If n equal to 0, what happens? R is again 0, right? Put n equal to the final value. What is the final value? N minus 1. That is what happens to r. N value is n minus 1. This value is n minus 1 minus 1. That's again divided by 2. What happens? N minus 1 minus 1. That is, what's the value? N minus 2 by 2. Look at the limits now. It is also ranging from n minus 2 by 2. Here also it is ranging from n by n minus 2 by 2. Again I can write this as n by 2 minus 1 itself. So therefore this equation, let me call this as equation number 1. The equation number 1 can be rearranged in such a way that summation put r equal to 0 to, I change the limits, that's it. Make sure that the limits of both the terms, odd sequence and even sequence, should remain same. So this is plus, this is about even sequence, and the odd sequence can be replaced by r equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1 x of n wn kn. What is the meaning here? My x of k is getting splitted into even term and odd term, where both the limits are ranging from 0 to n minus n by 2 to minus 1. That's it. So since okay, I'm sorry. Here, at the same time, I forgot to replace the value of n here. I'll just one more point I forgot to implement here. Excuse me for that. What happens here? First range x of k are equal to 0 to n by 2 minus 1, but x of n, what is n here? X n is replaced by 2r because we took n equal to 2r, and similarly wn k into n plus is again 2r, right? Plus this is even sequence. The odd sequence range is again, the limits is ranging from n by 0 to n by 2 minus 1, but x of what is the value of n? 2r plus 1 wn k times 2r plus 1, right? Look at this, you just simplify this equation now. This is nothing but summation x of 2r wn to the power of k 2kr, where r runs from 0 to n by 2 minus 1, plus, look at this, I replace this x of 2r plus 1 wn k2r, okay, or 2kr, both are same, wn to the power of k into 1 k, that is r equal to 0 to n minus 1, n by 2 minus 1. Now look at this entire summation is depend upon the r. So where here wn to the power of k is independent of that. So let me take it outside, right? Let me take it outside and I'll try to rewrite it as x of k is equal to summation x of 2r wn 2kr plus summation, I need to take wn to the power of k outside. Look at this, I am taking this part outside the summation because it is totally independent of r. My summation is ranging from r0 to n by 2 minus 1. So again it is x of 2r plus 1 wn to the power of 2kr. Now observe carefully, again is it not a definition of your dft? So it is 0 to n by 2 minus 1. Now is it not a definition of your DFT itself? Yes, obviously. Here it is n by 2 point DFT of even sequence, and this is about n by 2 point DFT of odd sequence. Clear? So, how do I rewrite this first term in the above equation? So, this term I'll just now make the shortcut. X of k is equal to, I take this entire first term, I'll just replace for my simplicity as g of k plus, because it is nothing but a x of k definition itself. Since we already used x of k, let me take the another definition. G of k. What is g of k? It is nothing but a n by 2 point dft here, followed by wn to the power of k. Again, it is also a definition of dft. So here we try to write this as here it is just what we are trying to do is g of r and wn to the power of kr, wn to the power of kr, and here I replace this 2r plus 1, it as h of r and wn to the power of k into r, right? So this is where I try to write as x, h of k. Now this is my n by 2 dft. So now this value, how many values I will going to get from g of k and h of k? The both limits are ranging from 0 to less than n by 2, because this is also n by 2 dft point dft, this is also n by 2 point dft, but I need what? N point dft. How do you write? You know that for after half sequence, after the we get the half sequence, next half sequence will be a periodic in nature. Next half sequence will be in a periodic nature. In one of the class I told you, if you get x of 0, x of 2, x of 3, for 4 point DFT, x of 4 will be equal to x of 2, right, because of the periodicity. So therefore I write the next equations as these g of k will be equal to, for next n by 2 point DFT, this is equal to, since by periodicity property, right, by periodicity property, g of k is equal to g of k minus, what happens here, it is n by 2 point DFT, so here it is g of k n minus 2. H of k will be equal to h of k minus n by 2. Therefore the next sequence of x of k will be equal to g of k minus n by 2 plus w n to the power of k h of k minus n by 2. So what is this? This is once again the last, till the last value, from n by 2 point DFT, right, from n by 2 point. So n by 2 if you put, so once again it will going to get the g of 0, whatever the value you got it, no, the same value will going to repeat after n by 2. So if it is 8 point DFT, after g of 4 means g of 3, g of 4 will be equal to again g of 0 itself. That's what the meaning here. So less than n minus 1. So this is the definition for n point DFT. Here it is n by 2 point DFT. Here it is one more n by 2 point DFT. Okay, we will be using these two equations here. Let me call this as equation number 2 and let me call this as equation number 3. How you calculate the x of 0? Assume n equal to 8. Okay, n equal to 8. What happens? X of 0, g of x of 0 equal to g of 0 plus wn to the power of 0 h of 0. X of 1 equal to g of 1. What is g of 1? You have n by 2 point DFT. See here, instead of n point DFT, we reduce it to n by 2 point DFT. I will show you how the calculations will work out in terms of multiplication operations. Okay, x of 2 equal to g of 2 wn to the power of 2 h of 2. X of 3 equal to g of 3 wn to the power of k h of 3. So this ends because this value itself says that it is less than 4 by 2, which is nothing but 8 by 2, that is less than 4. So we will going to get x of 0 to 3 here. Okay, what about 4? I'll come here now. X of 4 I will apply. What is this? X of 4 minus 4 by 2. Sorry, x of 4 minus 8 by 2. It is nothing but 4. Once again it is nothing but g of 0 plus w 8 to the power of 4 h of 0 when x of 4 is equal to, similarly x of 5 is equal to what? G of 1 plus w8 to the power of h of 1. So that is what the signal computation of x of k values. Is this clear? Is this clear? So now just write down those values here. How do you write those values? X of 0 equal to x of 1 equal to x of 2 equal to x of 3. These values are computed from, so that is g of 0 plus wn to the power of w8 to the power of 0 h of 0 g of 1 w8 to the power of 1 h of 1. Okay, similarly these two values are calculated. X of 4 value is calculated as g of k minus n by 2, which is nothing but 8 minus, sorry, this is g of k value is 4 here, 4 minus 8 by 2 plus w8 to the power of 4 h of 4 minus 8 by 2, right? So which is nothing but here it is going to get it as g of 0 w8 to the power of 4 h of 0. X of 5 is calculated as g of 1 w8 to the power of 5 h of 1. Similarly, x of 6 and x of 7 are going to be calculated in this case. Okay. So look at the multiplication operations here. To calculate, going back this, to calculate, to calculate n by 2 for each value of r, I say, right? For each value of r, if I say, then how many values will going to get here? Multiplications. N by 2 multiplications here for this term, right? And again for this term, n by 2 multiplications you will going to get, right? Two multiplications, that is in total you will going to get n by 2 whole square, is it not? So that's how the total number of multiplications, right? So we're going to get n by 2 whole square. So earlier how many multiplications, direct computations, in direct computations we used to get n square. Now here we used to get n by 2 into n by 2 n by 2 whole square. Almost 50% is going to be reduced here. Number of complex multiplications I'm talking about. Right. So here it is n equal to assume that 4. So 8 for 16 complex multiplications were required. In this case, it is 4 divided by 2 whole square. So it is almost 4. Look at the number of complex multiplications here. So this is how it is going to be reduced in terms of if you divide the if you go for dividing the sequences in terms of odd and even. So this is not at over. I'll just show you the signal flow graph here. Partial signal flow graph, how it looks. This is x of 0, x of 2, x of 4, x of 6. This is even sequences. That's what we divide, right? And we go for n by 2 point of DFT. So look at this. N by 2 point DFT is going to be calculated here. This is x of 0, x of this. This is equation number 2 and equation number 3. You concentrate these two equations. Okay. Should I write here? X of k in terms of g of k plus wn to the power of k h of k. ಇದು ಒಂದು. Again the next ಇದು 0 to n by 2, ಇದು n by 2 to n minus 1 up to. So this is again g of k n minus 1 plus wn to the power of k h of k n minus 1. So this is what we do, right? So 50% of the sequences are divided in terms of odd sequence and 50% in terms of even sequence. So n by 2 point of DFT, I go for sequencing like even sequences here. So when you perform this even sequences, it is nothing but g of r that is going to be performed, and here the odd sequences x of 1, x of 3, x of 5, x of 7. Now what we do, we try to multiply x of 0, capital X of 0, in order to fetch the capital X of 0. How do you get this? So we're going to get here g of 0 plus w. Here we have assumed n value to be 8. Okay, we have considered the value of n to be 8. W n is 8 to the power of 0 into what? H of 0. So that's how you get x of 0, x of capital X of 0, right? Okay, next g of 1. What is this? X of 1. So how do you get the x of 1 value? X of 1 value is going to be received as g of 1 w8 to the power of 1 h of 1, right? So x of 0 is going to be received as g of 0 plus w8 to the power of h of 0. Similarly, x of 1 is calculated as g of 1 plus w8 to the power of h of 1. Similarly, x of 2 is going to be calculated as x of 2 and 3 is going to be calculated as g of 2 plus w8 to the power of 2 h of 2, and g of 3 w8 to the power of 3 h of 3. Now we need rest 4, that is x4, x5, x6, x7. How do you calculate x4 in this now? x4, let me take this. x4 is equal to x4 is equal to g of 0 once again plus w8 to the power of what? 4. Am I right? Because I am trying to calculate for x of k equal to 4 into h of 0. Now what can I write for this? w8 to the power of 4, is it not equal to minus w8 to the power of 8, which we already discussed, right? So that's what we do is we already, sorry, this is not this is w8 to the power of 0. Now what we do is we simply put, instead of this we simply put minus 1 here. So that is g of 0, look at this, g of 0, I just eliminate this, g of 0 is getting multiplied with w8 to the power of 0 minus sign, that's it, minus w8 to the power of 0, so that I will going to get x of 4. Okay, x of 5, how do you write x of 5 here? X of 5 is nothing but g of 5 plus w8 to the power of 5 and h of 5. What is w8 to the power of 5? Can I write w8 to the power of 0 into w8 to the power of 1? Now what is w8 to the power of 4? It is nothing but minus 1. I can write this as w8 to the power of minus w8 to the power of 1. So what we do is I calculate w8 to the power of 1. Already it is calculated while calculating x of 1. Just I'll put minus 1. It is multiplication operation, guys. It is multiplication. The moment you take this arrow mark, it is nothing but a multiplication operation. What we do? X of 1. It is nothing but here g of 1. G of 1, sorry, it is not h of 5, it is h of 1. G of 1, this is g of 1, it is g of 2, it is g of 3, it is h of 0, it is h of 1, it is h of 2, h of 3, right? G of 1 is multiplied with minus, I replaced w8 to the power of 5 by minus w8 to the power of 1. Now we will going to get x of 5. So we will going to get x of 5 here. Now x of 6, what is x of 6? G of 2, x of 6 equal to g2 plus w8 to the power of 6, w8 to the power of 6 into h of 2. What is w8 to the power of 6? Can I write w8 to the power of 4 into w8 to the power of 2? Is it not? So what is w8 to the power of 4? It is minus 1 w8 to the power of 2. Therefore, I simply put minus 1 here. W8 to the power of 2 is already calculated while calculating x of 2. Now I just do it. G of 2 multiplied with minus w8 to the power of 2 into h of 2. Similarly, this value, the x of 7 value, is going to be calculated as g of 3 into minus w8 to the power of 3 into h of 3. So this is what we call it as a signal flow graph for 8-point DFT. So 8-point DFT, what we did? Calculation of 8-point DFT using two 4-point DFTs. Am I right? Using two 4-point DFTs. Instead of going 8-point, we applied 4-point DFT. 4-point DFT in terms, I am getting the output in terms of 8-point DFT itself. So once you go for the 4-point DFT, even if you take a direct computations, obviously the number of multiplication process will be less because you are considering only 4-point DFT. That's that's how the process is going to be made efficient. So let me stop here for the day. I don't know how many students can able to follow this. I also agree that there is a here and there you may have a confusion. Even if you have any confusion, don't worry. Please post me where you have a doubt in a group or even in a Google Classroom. I kept on telling you that if you have any doubts, please feel free to post it in either a classroom or WhatsApp group. I'll try to re-explain if possible. I'll try to see to that once again. Is there any other way to make sure that you will going to analyze at the faster rate? So I'll come back to slide now. Google Meet. I'll close the slides. So this is end for the day. So this is now what we'll discuss in the next class is, now you already got to know dividing the n value with n by 2. Okay. Now what we do is, once again, these g of 0, g of 1, g of 2, g of 3, again it is a 4-point DFT, right? Now think that is it once again possible to divide this by once again by 2? What does it mean? G of 0, G of 1, G of 2, G of 3. Again divide that G of k into odd and even. And once again h of k, you also have a h of k. Once again divide h of k into odd and even, so that here we applied 4-point DFT. Moving further, I will be applying 2-point DFT. That's it. So if possible, see to that, try to make a derivation, okay, by splitting g of k into odd and even and h of k into odd and even. Okay. So here we'll end the class.